Animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Africa. The afternoon is beautiful, and that, down there, is a gorgeous elephant, and this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
From Linville, Edam, and Windsor Oaks and Glenwood Elementary Schools, it's lovely to have you here. My name is James, and David's on camera. That's David's thumb. And over there is a very big elephant. And so I'm going to talk very quietly. As I tell you, you must talk to us, ask us any questions that you want to over the next little while, and we'll do our best to answer them. And I think Linville, Edam, you might be on your first safari, and so you're very especially welcomed. Ask us any questions you like. Now, the reason I'm talking quietly is that an elephant hears very well, and they don't always like it when we make a noise around them. So I want you to ask your questions in the classroom very quietly so that this elephant doesn't hear you. They've got very good hearing, very good eyes, and very good smell. So I hope you all had a bath this morning or last night, and that you smell very clean, because if you didn't, this elephant will smell you. Now what he's doing is eating, and he eats with his nose. Can you see that? Can you imagine eating with your nose? I don't know if you've ever tried to eat with your nose, but it's very uncomfortable. And this elephant is picking things up with his nose, though. He's not sucking things into his nose, he's picking them up, because his nose is like his hand. It's got 2 fingers on the end of it, and he's picking up fruits called marula fruits, and he's throwing them into his mouth and chewing them. And you know what? I'm going to show you later on in the drive where they come out of him, out the other end, in his poop. They look almost the same as when they went in. It's an amazing thing. And quite interestingly, which I think you'll find quite interesting, is that those fruits, which will eventually become the big trees that he's standing underneath now, those are marula trees, those fruits have to go through his tummy before they can grow into those big trees. Isn't that amazing? Elephants and marula trees have grown up together over the course of a long, long time. Oh dear. And he's just listening to my voice, and that's why I'm talking quite quietly. I don't want him to be upset by this, and I want him to be comfortable with us. Now he's very itchy. He's got an itchy ear, and so he's now scratching it. You see that? He's a big elephant. He probably weighs, I haven't even told you how big he is. He weighs about 12,000 pounds. Drake, you're wondering about a natural predator for an animal like this. Well, he weighs 12,000 pounds. There's nothing out here that can catch an animal that weighs 12,000 pounds. Maybe an enormous pride of lions might be able to think about taking him on, but only if he was very weak, if he hadn't eaten for a long time, if he hadn't drunk for a long time, and he was feeling very sick and very weak, then maybe a very big pride of lions could take him on, but otherwise nothing could take him on. 12,000 pounds is a huge, huge animal. Now, if we think about your classes, probably about 30 of you in the classroom, let's say you all weigh 20 kilograms each, which is around about 44 pounds, and we multiply 44 by 30. Oh, goodness gracious, we get roughly to 44 times 30 is, I'm just going to say, plus minus 1,400 pounds. So if all of you are in one group together, you weigh 1,400 pounds. This elephant still weighs 10 times that. Isn't that amazing? 10 times more than all of you combined. So if you look next door to the classroom next door to you, and there are another 10 classrooms full of kids your age, that's how much one elephant like this weighs. Benjamin, I'm going to move the vehicle a little bit now so we can get around. We don't want to look at his bottom, do we? That's not his best side. You want to know how he finds water? Well, elephants have an interesting story, Benjamin. Elephants grow up in a herd with a very experienced mother and aunts and cousins, and those female elephants know a lot of things about living in the wilderness in the same way that your mother knows a lot of things about living in, well, wherever you live. And the female elephants teach the young ones where to find water. He's doing some very interesting things here. Look at him there, rubbing his ear on the tree. Now you can see how close we are from this elephant, or how close we are to this elephant, if we have a look at here, us from the air. Look at that. And the elephant is sitting here watching us. And Connor's just flying around us now and showing you exactly how close we are to this elephant. Now he's walking and watching us quite carefully, and you can see him walking sort of parallel with us, that means next to us. And we're going to watch his behavior quite carefully. So as you're watching now, what you need to notice is that he's not reacting to us. He's just kind of getting on with his day without us. But at the same time, he's paying attention to what we're doing. Elephants are very clever, and they're very aware of what's going on around them. And so what he's doing is listening, as I said, to my voice. He's turning his head every so often to listen to us. And he's making sure that we don't mean him any harm. So we're going to drive along here and just make sure we don't get in his way, but we're going to stay close enough that we have a nice view. And remember, this elephant, if he gets cross with us, will be very scary. But as long as he doesn't get cross with us, as long as we are kind and friendly to him and we give him his space, then he shouldn't get cross with us. Now, we're going to get a little bit closer because he is behind the bush here, and I want you to be able to see him. So I'm going to talk even more quietly and more calmly, and we'll just see how he reacts. If he doesn't like us being here, we'll move away from him. Dave, is that all right? Now, Jasmine, you want to know why that huge elephant has got such huge ears. Well, Jasmine, they use those ears to cool down. Can you see, if we look at the ears, the veins, can you see those? Looks like little tubes running through his ears. If you look down at your wrist, everybody look down at your wrists, and you can see you've got veins there. That's where your blood pumps. Now, the elephant has also got veins in his ears, and he flaps those ears, and that means that the blood in his ears becomes cool, and when the blood in his ears becomes cool, it flows into his brain, and that keeps his brain cool. Now, the brain out here, or anywhere, is the most important organ. Remember that although your heart is important, and your lungs are important, and your liver is important, and your spleen is important, without your brain, everything else doesn't work. And if he gets very hot, he wants to keep his brain cool. The rest of him can get a little bit hotter than normal, but his brain has to stay cool, because without the brain, it doesn't work. So that's why he's got those huge ears, to make the blood cool that goes into his brain. Isn't that nice? And Oliver, you asked another very good question. He's got those huge white tusks in the front of his head, and you want to know what he uses them for. Oliver, he uses those tusks, firstly, the first obvious thing that he does with them is he uses them for defense. So if something attacks him, he will use those tusks to fight off something. He will use them to fight other males. Sometimes males will fight with each other when they want to mate with females. That happens every so often, so he'll use the tusks for that. But you know, the most important thing he does with tusks, I'm just trying to see if I can show you an example. The most important thing he does with tusks, I can quickly show you there on that bottom of that marula tree there, is he pulls off the bark of trees. And he digs his tusks into the bark, and that helps him to pull off the bark because he likes to eat it. Isn't that interesting? So that's the most important thing that he uses his tusks for. Steph, my friend, is out on foot around about this elephant somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but he wants to tell you how close he is, and he wants to tell you what he's going to be doing this afternoon.
Yes, hello and welcome to the bushwalk. As James rightly said over there, my name is Steph, and yes, we are walking around in exactly the same place where that elephant and James are. They're just a little bit further away. I didn't want to get caught by that elephant. They're on that far hill that you see all the way in the distance over there, probably about a mile or so from where we are. But you know, I was jealous listening to you watching that elephant eating, and I thought that I'd do a little experiment with you. So while I walk up to this bush, what I want you to do is pick up a pencil or a pen on your desk. So pick up a pencil or a pen, and if you can't, you can use a ruler or anything round, just about the same thickness as a pen, right? Then I'm going to pick some leaves over here because that's what an elephant would do. Then I'm going to teach you about an elephant's trunk. Now, an elephant's trunk is a little bit of their nose and a little bit of their top lip. So now, I'm going to do something amazing with you. I want you to take your pencil and I want you to put your pencil on your lip underneath your nose like this. Give yourself a moustache with your pencil. Everyone doing that? Okay, now I want you to put your fingers in your mouth, and I want you to put your other fingers on your nose, and I want you to pull out as hard as you can. That is an elephant's trunk. Can you believe it? With the little lip at the bottom and the little lip at the top. So when you go and have a look at that elephant with James again, have a look right at the end of the elephant's trunk. You will see two flaps of skin. That used to be the tip of the elephant's nose and the top lip of that elephant. It's just extended, and that's how he picks up food and puts it into his mouth. So can you imagine doing this and put food in your mouth using the tip of your nose? Isn't that amazing? Now, Madison, you've asked me, why is an elephant's trunk so long? Well, Madison, it's because elephants are so big, to be quite honest with you. Their mouths are far away from the ground, and without having to bend down on their knees or bend over onto their elbows, they grew a long nose. And now with their long nose, imagine if this was my nose, my hand, I can now just lazily pick up grass and put it in my mouth, and pick up grass and put it in my mouth. If I didn't have a long nose, I'd have to go down on my hands and knees, and I'd have to eat out of the grass, and that puts my face in the grass, which is dangerous because I can't see what's going on in the bush around me. So being big and being tall has its advantages when you're out here in the bush. It makes you easy to see, but it also puts your mouth far away from the food that you're eating, and that's why the elephants have got such a long nose. They can grab the food that they need to eat and they can put it in. And just to recap again, this is the tip of the elephant's trunk. Tip of the nose, top lip, just extended. Looks funny, eh? Alright, remember that when you go back to James and you go and have a look at that elephant again. Tip of the trunk. Alright, now I am going to carry on melting in the sun, which is busy beating out of this African sky at the moment, but it does mean that we might probably find a lot more interesting things for you. So why don't we send you back over to James and Ellie, and we'll catch up with you on the other side of all this bush over here.
Right, we're still with our elephant just because he's so big and so special to be around. We're going to stay driving next to him. And he's just looking for things to eat now. He's moving from bush to bush. And if you look at the bush that he's eating on now, you can see that it's not the first time an elephant's eaten on that bush. You can see it's been broken many, many times. And you might just be able to see that he's broken off another branch. But just about all the trees out here have managed to learn over lots and lots of time how to cope with being broken by elephants. So they don't die when they're broken by elephants, they just start growing in a different direction, which is very clever. Now, Jacob, you are obviously a very clever little fellow, because you're saying, does the elephant have birds that pick things off its back? Jacob, an elephant doesn't, but you know obviously that something like a rhino or a hippo or a buffalo or an impala, a nyala, a kudu, just about all the animals out here, except the predators, have got oxpeckers. Those are the birds that sit on them and eat off the ticks and parasites. Now, we think that there are a few reasons why elephants don't have those. The first is we think that elephants don't like oxpeckers. We think they don't like having the birds around them, so they do this, like when there's a fly flying, buzzing around you, they do that, and then the birds go away. But the other reason is that elephants don't have a huge number of ticks on them, because they don't have sweat glands, which means they don't sweat, and so there's not a huge amount for the ticks to eat. They've got such very thick skins, do elephants, so it's very difficult for the ticks to get to or at the blood in the elephant's skin. Now, I'm going to just talk quietly again, because he's coming closer, and we'll just watch him walk by. Right, we're going to be very quiet now, because he's coming right close by here, and I don't want to make him angry. I want you to all be very quiet, okay? This elephant is very close to us now. Shh. I'm just going to keep talking quietly, just so that he knows we mean him no harm at all, and watch him go by. Isn't that wonderful? That elephant was no more than 4 meters from us. 4 meters is about 13 feet. Maddie, wasn't that special? That was a very special experience for us. And Maddie, it's so special because he chose to come close to us. Now, you want to know if we get elephants in other parts of the world. Well, this kind of elephant, the African elephant, is found all throughout Africa in areas where we have ground like this. So savannas and grasslands and bushveld, those are the kinds of areas. And then we get a different kind of elephant called the forest elephant, which lives in the forest parts of Africa. And then there's an animal called the Asian elephant, which has got much smaller ears and smaller tusks normally, and that lives in India and Thailand and different parts of Southeast Asia. So those are the 3 kinds of elephants that we get here. The 2 African species are very closely related, though. So I think we're probably going to leave this chap to head off probably towards some water. We might catch up with him a little bit later. While we do that, my friend Byron is out, and he's got one of the things that you normally see in big numbers, but I think this one's a bit lonely.
This is a bit lonely, James. It's a wildebeest, a big male wildebeest, and he's out in a clearing by himself, and the reason for that is I think this is a dominant male, so this is his territory. So he probably protects this against other males, and he'll move around here. There's some water close by, so he doesn't really have to move anywhere. Good afternoon again, everyone. My name is Byron, and on camera with me is Jandre, and we are out looking for a lion this afternoon, but we haven't had any luck just yet. Now, our friend Tristan this morning got to see a beautiful big male lion, and he moved in this direction, but we're not sure where he was left or where he moved to, so we're going to try and find him. But in the meantime, luckily we got to see this lovely male wildebeest. Now, James did mention that they are usually in big groups or big herds, and they are indeed usually, and especially up in East Africa, you can have millions of wildebeest together, and they do migrate through those areas depending on the time of the year and the weather, when there's food and water around. They do not migrate down here in South Africa or Southern Africa where we are. So it's not unusual to find them hanging around in small groups, not so many, but also the males do find little territories, or a territory is another word for his home, and that's why he's trying to protect it against other males. So it's a nice spot, probably safe out in the open, so the lions can't sneak up on him. He can see if they coming to stalk him. And as I said, there's water around, there's lots of green grass, so he's quite happy out here. Maybe just a bit lonely. Colton, the wildebeest eat grass, and that's all they eat. So they are known as grazers, and a grazer is a name for an animal that eats grass and only grass. So that's what this wildebeest will eat, and that is why he is in this open section behind me. It's a wonderful area for him. There's lots of grass for him to eat, and that's all the wildebeest eat. Some of the other antelope that we see around here, we have got many different species, so hopefully we'll get to show you some of them while we are out on drive, but some of them are known as browsers. Now, a browser is the name that is given to animals that eat leaves off the trees. So we have grazers, which eat grass, and we have browsers, which eat leaves. Oliver wildebeest, like other antelope, all have horns so that they can most likely defend their territory against other males. They do fight. These animals with horns, they use them for two reasons. One is for protection, maybe against a predator like a lion or leopard, and the other reason is so that they can fight with other males, so they can basically fight for a territory or fight for dominance. The bigger, stronger bull, or in this case for the wildebeest, the bigger or stronger bull or bigger male, they will be the ones who win, and this is his prize. Basically, is this area where he's got water and he's got nice green grass, and he'll wait for a herd of females probably to come into the area. Benjamin, he's standing there probably because he's comfortable. I can see he's lifting his legs a bit. Now, I think that's probably because of the flies. There are a lot of flies around at the moment, and especially on the animals. So he's trying to probably lift his legs and kick them away. And you see his tail also swishing backwards and forwards to keep the flies off of him. But he stands there because he wants to, I suppose. That's probably the best way to describe it. He's comfortable, he's safe out here, he's got grass, he's got water. There's no reason for him to move around. Jessica, no, the wildebeest don't mate for life. Like a lot of the antelope species around Africa, it's survival of the fittest, and the strongest and more dominant males, they will be the ones who get to mate with the females. But then the next year, when it is mating season again, then whichever male is around, whichever male is dominant, he will get to mate with females. Some antelope, though, and one of the examples I can give you is probably the little steenbok. Now, that is a small antelope, and I'll find a picture for you so I can show you. And that little antelope does generally mate for life. Now, I say generally because if something happens to one of them, a male or female, then they would have to look for another partner. But usually the pairs stay together, and the male and female will stay together in an area, and they generally do mate for life. So here is a small little steenbok at the bottom of the page. There we go, very cute little antelope, and we do see them here. They're very small. I'll show you how big they are shortly, but this little male over here with the horns, the females don't have horns, but you can see the little horns, and not very big antelope, and they do stay together. Now let me show you how big this antelope is. Very small. It's the smallest that we get in this area. It's probably only about this big. Only about that big, but we might see some. We do get them in the area. Maybe we can find them for you and show them to you. But while I look around for some other animals and where that lion went, Steph has got something interesting on the ground he wants to show you.
Now, you know, just the same as that wildebeest you were having a look at and the steenbok that Byron wants to show you today, they are grass eaters, both of them. So is the animal in the middle of your screen now also a grass eater. And I'm going to see if you can see it. It's about as big as your thumb. So if you hold your thumb up into the air like this, it's about as big as your thumb, and it's about as wide as your thumb as well. So it's quite a big animal. Now, we're going to see if you can see it. See if you can see it with me. I'm going to point it out to you with my piece of grass. You all ready? Okay. Its head is here. There's its eye. And coming down its head and neck. And here its body starts. And here's one leg. And there's its backside. Its abdomen, and here's the other leg. That's its knee. Can you see yet what it is? It's a grasshopper. Watch here. Look at that. Let me move this out the way. There you go. One of the crested locusts. And I told you it was as big as your thumb. Look at how big that is. As big as my thumb. Isn't that amazing, the camouflage on this creature? Now, different to the wildebeest that you were having a look at that gets safety in numbers, where lots of them help keep each other safe, this crested locust stays safe by staying invisible. And you can see that even though there's not even one little piece of grass where this locust lives, it still stays almost completely invisible. Isn't that the most amazing thing you've seen today? I think it is. For me, this is my favorite things, to be quite honest with you, is these little insects. And they're all types and shapes out here. Some of them are as green as the grass I'm lying on at the moment. Others are shaped like flowers. In this particular instance, this grasshopper looks like dead leaves and dead grass lying on the ground. That's exactly what he's trying to copy at the moment. And also why he's not jumping away from me is that it's much easier for him to believe that he's invisible, and because I'm not trying to touch him, he doesn't have to get away. Isn't that incredible? So I'm just going to point out the little features on him again, just now that we can see it. Okay, here's the antennae, his feelers. Then there's an eye. There's his head. Here's his thorax, or the middle part of his body. And here's the abdomen, the back end of his body, with one leg here and another leg there. Look at him walking away now. One of the crested locusts, and they just eat grass, the same as the wildebeest and the same as the steenbok. Now, Tyler, you've just asked a question, what do grasshoppers eat? Tyler, grasshoppers eat grass, and they can be some of the most voracious grass eaters we have on the planet. Yes, voracious is a massive word. It means that they can eat lots and lots and lots in a very quick space of time. Not one grasshopper, but sometimes we have conditions all over the world where there's been lots of rain and lots of grass, where locust numbers turn into a swarm, and you get a locust swarm. Many hundreds of millions of locusts in one swarm or one family. They go through an area, they eat everything, all the grass, all the leaves, everything. They can really do some damage. This little locust though, he lives on his own. Sometimes, this is a female, and I know it's a female because she doesn't have wings. Males have wings. This one doesn't have wings. She lives on her own. She doesn't live in swarms at all, not this particular locust. How awesome is that? Hope you're enjoying it, Tyler. All right, now we do have a friend in the sky here that you saw with that elephant and James. We've got our drone pilot, Connor, flying a drone over us, and he's coming to see how camouflaged we are from the drone. So you're going to be going off to the drone picture or drone shot now. You can see me lying on the floor and waving at you at the moment. You can see also, you can see Craig and the big backpack that sends the signal to the tower that brings you the picture from where we're sitting at the moment. And you may even be able to see Herbie. Herbie's walking over there. Herbie keeps the area around us nice and safe. He makes sure that I can lie in the grass and show you locusts without getting stepped on by things like that elephant or the wildebeest. And so Herbie's job is to make us nice and safe while we do that. Isn't that just such an awesome view? You've got a giraffe's eye view of where we are right now. Isn't that quite nice? Luckily from that point you couldn't see me sweating like I am. Today is a very hot day. It's summertime in Africa. That's why everything's nice and green. And we've had some nice rain, but it's still about 80 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment where we are. Not the hottest it gets here. We got over 100, but today is a nice warm day. Anyway, on that note, we're going to send you off to James and we're going to find you some other awesome things to look at.
There we go, everybody. That is a beautiful, beautiful special bird called a purple roller. Isn't he lovely? And he's sitting out there because he can see what he wants to eat. And the things he likes to eat are butterflies. And you know that special grasshopper that you were looking at with Steph? Well, that special grasshopper that is so very, very cleverly camouflaged, that's what he's looking for. Now imagine how good his eyes must have to be in order to see that camouflaged grasshopper that you couldn't even see with the camera, despite the fact that you were so close to it. Now imagine how good that the eyes of that special bird must be in order for it to see it from all the way up there. I think it's very, very clever that it's able to see so far. And he's called a roller because when he does his display, and display means when he sort of flies around the place to show the other purple rollers that this is his place, what he does is he flips about like an aeroplane. You've seen those planes doing acrobatic tricks. That's what he does, and that's why he's called a roller. Now just below the roller we've got some of our most common antelope. Now an antelope, I'm sure as Byron told you, is quite similar to a deer, but not quite the same. And those ones are all male antelope, and because they're quite small, they probably weigh about 140 pounds each. We call them rams. Anything bigger than that we'd call a bull, and anything smaller than that will be a ram as well. So it's quite difficult to understand what's a ram and what's a bull, but basically from about 140 kilograms and below, all male antelope are called rams. Oh, look, and that one's eating grass. He's having a lovely, delicious late lunch. Right, let's go back up to the bird there. Madison, you say, why does this bird have two different colours? It's probably got even more than that, Madison. It's got white and it's got purple. Ooh, there it goes. And it's got dark purple. And its friend, the lilac-breasted roller, has got 7 different colours. Madison, you know what? There are lots of people who have got lots of theories about why these birds are that colour. And it's probably got to do with something called selective pressure that happens between mates. So we're not really entirely sure, and I'm not going to try and explain that to you because it's very difficult to try and understand. But basically, it's so that they look good, I suppose, for each other, you might want to say. They look good for each other, and the more they look good for each other over the course of a long time, the better looking they're going to get. Now there we have the impala. And of course they are looking around for what might be trying to coming to eat them. See how only one of them's eating, the others are looking around. And the reason they're looking around is because they're nervous because we are here. Now Oliver, that's a very good question. Remember we talked about the tusks on the elephant, and you say what do antelope use their horns for? Antelope use their horns, Oliver, for fighting each other. That's what they use them for. And you know these guys look like they're friends now, but come April and May, they are going to really dislike each other. They get very cross with each other, and they fight with their horns. And it's the same reason that the antlers of deer grow, because they use them to fight as well. And it's always a fight over ladies. They're always fighting over female impala at April and May, because that's when the mating time is. But right now they're all friends with each other, and their horns don't really get used for anything. Those are very impressive horns, aren't they? Very sharp. And sometimes they do real harm to each other, but most of the time they don't actually hurt each other. Christopher, you're wondering, I think, are impala smart? Is that what you're wondering? Impala are probably not the smartest animals in the world. They can't do mathematics, for example. They can't read books. They can't paint very well either. They're not very good at art. But you know what? They're very, very successful out here. They're the most common antelope we get, and that means that they are perfectly clever for what they have to do. And what they have to do is know where to find food. You can see these guys know where to find food. They've got to know where to find water. They know where to find water. And most importantly, they've got to know how to stay out of trouble, how to get away from predators like lions and leopards and hyenas and cheetahs and wild dogs. And they're very good at doing that. You can see them looking around all the time, lifting their heads to see, to smell, to hear if perhaps there isn't perhaps a predator coming towards them from through the bushes. And so they're very clever at doing that. And that's all the cleverness that they need, you see, Christopher. They don't need to be able to speak to each other in English or Spanish. They don't need to be able to draw triangles or learn how to multiply 6 by 4. They don't have to do any of that stuff. And so they're perfectly clever for what they have to do. Now, Madison, you're also obviously a very clever girl, and you say, do these animals migrate? They don't migrate, and they don't migrate because of what you can see just in front of that impala there. Can you see the water there? The only reason animals migrate is to get to water or to food. Now, in this area, there's lots and lots of water all over the place. It occurs in little puddles. It occurs in big dams where people have pumped water. And that means that there's no reason for the animals to move away from here. And so they don't migrate. And even in areas where, say, animals, you remember you saw that wildebeest with Byron. Animals like wildebeest are very good at migrating, and they do migrate in big distances in places like East Africa. Impala, if they have one weakness, it's that they cannot migrate. They're not designed to run a long way. They're only designed to run a short way. So they need to live in an area where there's lots of water all the time and lots for them to eat all the time. It's a very, very good question. Let's go around the corner. There's another waterhole here. And while we go to see what's in that waterhole, let's head across to Steph, who's got some more creepy, crawly things.
I hope I've got some more creepy crawlies. Thank you very, very much, James. Yes, I also quite like looking under things. So while James is looking in the water, we're going to look underneath the stump and see what we've got here. So this is a piece of dead wood that just lies out here in the bush. They lie all over the place in the bush, and underneath the dead wood very often are things for us to have a look at. And immediately I spy something that's very, very awesome. Alright, right here is a pill millipede. Have a look at this. Now I'm going to try and show you this pill millipede without it turning into a pill, but I think the inevitable is there. So this is a millipede, one of the millipedes. No, it's already a pill. Have a look at that. Already into a circle, that's where it gets its name from. Pill millipede. And that is something that's quite awesome. Now, I'm going to set a challenge for you and see if you can get it. How long would it take you to count to 350 million? Because that's how many years these pill millipedes have been on the planet for. 350 million years. That is a very, very, very long time. You can ask your teacher, if you were to count, let's give it some range here. If you were to do 3 letters every second. So 1, 2, 3. That is 1 second. How long will it take you to get to 350 million? Ask your maths teacher if he can give you an idea. And you'll see it is a very, very long time counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All the way to 350 million. Then you'll know how many years these pill millipedes have been on Earth for. A very, very, very long time. Right, now I have something behind me that is just as awesome as this pill millipede and as that crested locust was just now. Come and have a look over here. See if on this plant over there you can see some little creature that I'm talking about. I'm going to go behind it and see if you can see it. It is camouflaged. It's also camouflaged, much like that rain locust was, only instead of being camouflaged to look like a piece of grass and a stick, this is camouflaged to look like a flower. Can you see what it is yet? Are you getting an idea just yet? That is a praying mantis, and it's a flower praying mantis. It is camouflaged to look exactly like a flower, and what it's hoping to do is attract an insect which wants to come and sit on it, and then it'll catch it with its front legs and eat it. Isn't that awesome? So this is called the saw-backed flower mantid. That's what you're having a look at right there. Head on the left hand side. Let me see if I can point it out to some grass. Now excuse me, I've got a bit of the shakes, as I'm told all the time. So here's the head. Those two pointy things that you see on either side of the head are its eyes. And then its body, its thorax, and then its abdomen. There we go. Ooh, hello. Trying to look exactly like a flower. Isn't that cool? Very, very nice. Alrighty, we're going to leave this mantid to catch some early dinner for itself, and we're going to send you over to Byron, who's got a tortoise for you.
We did have a tortoise, Steph, but your mantid, I think, was holding us up, and even the slowest animal out here managed to move away from us. He's disappeared into the grass. Hang on, we might get another view of him. Let's see. Let's see. There he is. You might still see him. Let's have a look. There, you can just see him. There he goes. A beautiful leopard tortoise. Look at him go. Wonderful. That's a nice little surprise. It's amazing how they can disappear in the long grass at the moment. Now those tortoises do move around looking for food and water, and it's wonderful to see the leopard tortoise. They've got a beautiful pattern. Unfortunately, he just moved a little bit away from us, but I don't want to disturb him. I don't want to go and pick him up, because that's when you stress them out, and I don't want to do that. Nice to see him though, and off he went. I'm going to see, oh hang on, there's some impala just ahead of us, and look, they are stotting. Look how they're jumping around. Let's see if there's some more come through. Hang on, I'm going to go forward quickly.
Well, that was a bit inconvenient, wasn't you? Before you leave us, I just want to show you one thing very quickly. Ooh, that's called a woodland kingfisher going chipper. Now, I'm going to teach you a very important wilderness lesson, kids. When you go into the wilderness, you don't ever eat anything unless you know exactly what it is. And this plant, you can see the end of it there. Can you see that? You see it's got a little bit of white there, guys and girls. That's very toxic, so I'm not going to do that. If I did that, it would give me a very runny tummy, and if I ate enough of it, it could actually kill me. And it looks like a very beautiful tree, and it is a very beautiful tree, but you don't ever want to be eating anything that you can't identify and that you don't understand as something that's good to eat out here. Okay. Remember that. That doesn't matter if you're in Africa, if you're in America, or where you... Oh, there's a kudu. Well spotted there, David.
Thank you.
Now that is one of the most beautiful antelope that we get here. That's a big male kudu bull. Remember we spoke about impala rams? That is a kudu bull. And he's huge, probably weighing in at about 500 pounds or so. And he's enjoying himself a lovely meal of leaves. And you know the kudu is very clever. He can eat that white stuff that I showed you. It's not a problem for him to eat at all. Alright, school kids, I hope you have a wonderful day at school. I hope that you enjoy your lessons, and I also hope that you stay warm. I know it's winter where you are. We're having a lovely summertime down here in Africa. For the rest of you viewers, we're also going to bid you goodbye, but not for longer than 5 minutes. We just need to do a few technical things.
Everyone, we've just managed to find some zebra, and that's great. Haven't seen zebra for quite some time. I was hoping they'd move out of the thicket, but again it is quite warm. There's a lot of impala jumping around between the zebra, enjoying the long green grass there at the moment, and it's probably because it's so hot that they are in the shade in the thickets. And I'm sure at some point they'd probably come out onto the clearings during the evenings. There the impala are also feeding. Looks like they're feeding on some sedges or some grass through there. There we go. Looks like a sedge that impala was feeding on, but we know that the impala are mixed feeders, so they will browse and they will graze depending on the time of year. That's one of the reasons why impala are so successful in this area, and why there are so many, is because they will adapt depending on the time of year and the food that is available. They will then feed on it, and that is known as a mixed feeder. Look how well camouflaged it is. I mean, I suppose it's mainly because of the shadows and that through the thicket, and the bush is so thick, but you struggle to see them. And actually, have a look at that. When they walk through those dead branches, then they do almost disappear. Even through there, those green branches, you just see the odd stripe and flick of a tail. I've been speaking a lot about camouflage, so I do think maybe the stripes help camouflage them a little bit in the thickets. There's also a wildebeest that I could just get a glimpse of through there. Now, it's not unusual to see wildebeest and zebra in the same area. It does happen from time to time. One of the reasons is because they're both herbivores, and they generally referred to as plains game. They're animals that enjoy the open plains, and that is why you'd probably see wildebeest and zebra in the same area. And also because they don't compete directly for food. The wildebeest, it has been known that the wildebeest generally feed on the shorter grass and the zebra feed on the longer grass. So there's no direct competition for food. Now, Jack, you want to know if zebra are related to horses? Yes, they are. Zebra are related to horses. Equus. How's my Latin? That's the scientific name of the zebra. And I think this species of zebra, if I'm not mistaken, is Equus burchellii. I'll double check that quickly. Let's have a look. I hope I'm right. I think I am. I'm not going to doubt myself. Oh dear. They say, hang on. So here they say, now I'm almost certain there was the Burchell zebra was Equus burchellii, but the book that I've got now says that let me try to show you, but this species of zebra that we get here are known as the plains zebra, and they are known as Equus quagga. Now the quagga was actually an extinct species in Africa, and it was a mixture between a horse or a zebra and a donkey, rather. That was what a quagga was. But yeah, it's interesting. So anyway, plain zebra, Equus quagga, and they are related to horses. There we go, Jack. They seem to have moved off now, and I think we are going to do the same. Let's see what else we can find. I'm in search of lion, but no luck just yet, but also giraffe. I'd love to show you some giraffe this afternoon. So we'll have a look and see what we can find. Let's head back to Steph quickly, who's still walking around, and see how he's doing on this warm afternoon.
I'm trying to think of the last time that we managed to see a giraffe on foot, and to be quite honest with you, I can't even remember. I'm trying to now, for the life of me, as you could probably see from the vacant look in my eye and my expression there. When was the last time we walked into a giraffe on foot, or at least I did? I don't know, a couple of months, maybe 3 months, 4 months ago, a long time ago. But if I can find it again, I just spied an arthropod that we very rarely see on Safari Live. In actual fact, I've never shown you one of these particular insects on Safari Live, and I only get to see 1 or 2 a year, maybe. So I'm going to try my best to try and share this with you. It is one of the most horrifying or terrifying insects that we find out here, and it is living on this branch. And I'm just going to pick up this stump without getting violin spidered. And let's see if we can find it for you. So come along on the journey. Yes, we've got him. So right here is the nightmare-inducing tailless whip scorpion, or ambly piggy. Isn't that just the most amazing creature? Absolutely harmless, made famous in the Harry Potter series. I can't remember which one, and it's only because my little boy watches Harry Potter pretty much non-stop that I know it's inside there. But one of the wizards makes one of these dance. In any case, back to the here and now. So these very flat arthropods live on these stumps, live flat and making use of the gaps between where these stumps lie and whatever substrate they're on. And they hunt mainly for cockroaches and other insects and worms, catching them with those very elongated pincers in the front. Now, those pincers in the front have got claws like hands that are now folded against the face. And what is it especially nice about them is they've got these massively long pedipalps. Now, I'm going to see if I can show you one. Here's one here, and I'm going to ask you to follow it with my grass. It stretches from here, back to past the back of the body, out to past the side legs, forward to past the head, and then out even more, another third of the body. So that is one of these pedipalps that it uses to feel around its environment and feel out prey. So I'm going to trace it again for you. So from the tip of the grass, back, around, to the outside of the leg, all the way to there, and then back into the front here. And that is how they find their prey. And when they find it, they catch them with these two hand-like appendages with the most gruesome spikes on at the end. Don't sting it, they don't have any venom, they don't have any stinging appendages. They literally just peg it down or pin it down with those arms, and then they bite it and they chew on it until they've managed to subdue it and then eat it. Just one of the most amazing creatures out here. So this, again, is the tailless whip scorpion, or ambly piggy, as they call them. Nice, eh? I like that. That is one of my favorite things out here. Alright, we're going to carry on with our adventure. I'm going to put him back underneath his log. Thank you very much for sharing your afternoon with us. And we're going to send you off to James and catch up with you in a little bit.
While we've been gone, everybody, we've changed a tyre. I just, paused there because I realised the children weren't with us anymore. And so for me to be talking to you like this, well, I just think you'd probably become offended after a while. There we have two Wasserbock, waterbuck, and they're coming down for a drink, astoundingly. One doesn't often see waterbuck by the water, except at Chitwa Dam, where there are many. And, many of them actually seem to live pretty much in the lodge, which, of course, I would do if I could. Now, that waterbuck seems to be confused. It seems to think it is some form of mountain goat. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever seen that quite amazing YouTube clip of those goats that live on that dam wall. Have you ever seen this, David? It is astonishing, to say the least. An almost vertical dam wall, and these goats walk along it, eating off bits and pieces of whatever flesh there happens to be. Not flesh, whatever growth there happens to be. Dave, wait. Can you see that big bird up the top there? Way up. It's turning now towards us and it's going to hover. See it hovering?
Negative.
It's pretty much directly above the big knobthorn over the end of the dam. Up and to the right. Up. Way up high. Middle of the frame now. It's hovering there. Oh, Davey, it's between those two clouds that you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sort of. No. See the two clouds? It's now flying towards the third cloud behind this tree.
Ooh, I don't see it.
You don't see it, do you, David? It's hovering, and the reason there are only two birds that I know of that do this, and I think I know what that one is just from what it's doing. It's now coming into the third cloud. Right, see if you can bang him there. Ha! Now, my guess is that is a black-breasted snake eagle. I don't think it is. I think it's a vulture. Ah, come here, bird. Isn't that amazing? It is a vulture. Never seen a vulture do that before. I think that's a white-backed vulture, pretending to be a helicopter. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know why it's doing that, Dave? It's doing. I was going to say exactly what Kirsten's just said to me in my ear. She said, it's pretending to be the matrice. What I was going to say is that it's been spending time, obviously, with Connor and his drone, Marvin the matrice. I mean, are we all in agreement that that is a vulture? I mean, it's difficult to tell, but I'm 99% sure that that's what we're looking at. A hovering white-backed vulture. It's not a black-breasted snake eagle. Come this way, bird. Red fire. It is a black-breasted snake eagle. Is it? It's coming closer. Red fire queen, you say it looks like it's floating. That is precisely what it's doing. It's got some white underneath it. But I think its wings are too dark. It's not a black-breasted snake eagle. Look at it hovering there, isn't it amazing? Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, that could be all sorts of things. It's just too far and too into the sun for me to see properly. And now it's going past the sun. Watch out, everybody, you're going to go blind. The waterbuck must be very distressed that we're not looking at them. So distressed that they've disappeared. We missed the one mountain goating up to the top of the damn wall. Let's go around the other side if we can't see them. That was very cool. Sorry I couldn't be more definite on the identification there. The black-shouldered kite and the black-breasted snake eagle are the only two birds that I know of that do that well, as a matter of course. Let's just go up here. We've got some impalas to the left. Hello, Gonzo. Gonzo, you want to know about the number of antelope species that we get here. There's that hovering beastly bird. I'm going to pretend that it is a vulture, I think. Can you see it, David?
Yes.
But it's flying too far away from us. It's huge. It is very unusual behavior. Gonzo, I shall talk to you now. You know what that is. Okay, I've just identified it without shadow of a doubt. That's a Wahlberg's eagle. See how thin the tail is as it stops flying, and it is very pale underneath. It's one of, I would suspect actually quite strongly, that is one of our famous pale form Wahlbergs that lives around about the Djuma Dam area. I think that's what we're looking at. No, are we? I'll tell you why now. Suddenly I'm just a little bit distrustful of myself because its wings aren't quite as square on the sides. Kirsten says it's definitely a bird. Thank you, Kirsten. That's a wonderful, very helpful person that you are. It is still astounding to watch. Anyway, I'm going to forget it at that and get on to Gonzo's question. Much easier to answer than what bird that is. Antelope species is one of them over there. We've got 9 antelope species here. Gonzo, we have got the impala. We have got the 3 tragolaphids, the bushbuck, nyala and kudu. We've got the wildebeest. We have got the waterbuck. We have got the steenbok and the duiker. And it's always at this point that I forget what the other one is.
Nyala?
No, we've had him. We've had Nyala. And I know that some people count the sable, which we do get here very seldom, as one of them. I normally don't, I don't think. Am I leaving out a really obvious one? Let's go through them again. Impala, bushbuck, kudu, nyala, wildebeest, waterbuck, duiker, steenbok. You see, I'm getting stuck. I think it is sable. I think that's the other one that we had. I mean, I always say we're getting... Yeah, I did that. Yeah, Claude Gate, you say it's sable. I think that's pretty much what it is. In fact, it must be. I mean, it can't be another one unless I'm forgetting something deeply obvious. Sable, we've seen once on the dam cam while I've been here, and I think they've been seen at Cheetah Plains once or twice. Anyway, we've now come towards, well, Twin Dam, Boon Pan, which is Horsana's favourite dam, Pan, just the other side there. That's inside Little Lowry. And we're just going to see if those leopards aren't around there, and then we're going to go towards where seen. There is a vehicle there, and I was a little bit hopeful when we got here, but I saw somebody actually get out of that car, so I don't think it's because they... Alright, let's head across to Steph. I think he's got something interesting for you. We're about to go and check where she was last seen.
I have actually got something quite interesting for you, but it's got something to do with the past tense, I suppose, is the best way to put it. I don't know if you remember, a few scant months ago, we had the drought that we sort of perennially come back to and chat about. But today, blade. And yet, underneath the trees around my house, this has happened, and it was exactly the same thing. October, you can go back and have a look at your screenshots from October. I know Taylor did a couple of screen grabs, I think, in the same place. I can't remember where it was, on quarantine open areas or somewhere around, when she got here, to show the change of the season and just correspond those pictures that you may have or may be able to share with everybody else through the hashtag Safari Live or via the email address questions@wildearth.tv, and just have a look at exactly the change. It's just astounding, really. I know I keep on using that word, but Mother Nature is truly something spectacular. I'm actually battling to find content, believe it or not. Lots of grass and things to talk about. In actual fact, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about right now. This is Panicum maximum. This is the best grass, as far as I'm concerned, that the Sabi Sands produces. It is quite a tall grass. It only grows in shade. It doesn't grow out in the open. It's a grass that completely loves shade. You find it all the way from the drainage lines all the way onto the crests of the hill, and has a very big grassy stalk. Lots of nutrition in the leaves, lots of moisture. Very tasty grass to eat. Comes out to these seeds. Birds, insects, animals the like eat the seeds. The seeds themselves taste almost like a raw grain, either cereal or type of grain that you find on top of freshly baked bread. It was very good tasting grass. And this is one of those treasure troves of the Sabi Sands, this Panicum maximum. It's already dropped its seed. Already next year's Panicums have been seeded. Everything's good. Life's good at the moment. Alright. Byron's got another type of chelonian for you. We'll catch up later.
It's a very big word, Steph. Wow, but yes, indeed, we've got a terrapin, and this is a serrated-backed terrapin. You can see the serrations actually around the back of it. This is a younger one. They do get much bigger. And he's just sunning himself out on the bank of this little dam, a little water hole that we are at the moment. We've had no sign, unfortunately, of lions or anything else just yet. We'll just still try. Maybe later we'll get some luck. Nice to see the terrapin out the water like that resting. Apparently they do not smell very good. I've never smelt a terrapin, but I've heard of people that have tried to keep them as pets in terrariums, but apparently they stink. So I would not go and pick one up or try to keep one. And it's interesting, they obviously wait in the water for animals, especially like animals, buffalo, or any animal that comes and lies in the water. These terrapins would go and pick off the ticks, and they usually feed on the ticks and other insects around them, but mainly ticks off animals. That's what terrapins enjoy feeding on. Now, something else that is interesting that we've got over here is if you have a look right up in the tree directly above that terrapin, there's some nests up here. Now those look like possibly red-billed buffalo weaver nests. I would say that's what they are, but then you can see that very white substance in the tree over there. Now this could possibly be linked to James's terrapins. Now this, I think, is a foam nest frog. Not I think, I know this is a foam nest frog. and some people have been guessing that maybe those James's tadpoles. Sorry, did I say James's terrapins? James's tadpoles. See what happens when you've out in the sun for too long. So what I think is, perhaps some of us think that maybe the tadpoles belong to the foam nest frog. I'm not sure, maybe. Now this foam nest frog, what's amazing is that is incredibly high above the water in that large tree, and what happens is the frogs climb up to the top of those branches. The females call, the males call, they attract one another, and the males, not just one male usually, it might be one or two or three males in fact, that will go and try and fertilize those eggs. And while they are up there, as the female is laying, that mixture of the liquid all starts being churned up, and while it mixes, it forms this foam, which is then basically sits around the branch and solidifies slightly on the outside, just forms a bit of a crust to protect those little eggs. And then about a week later, just over a week, when they hatch, they drop straight down into the water below. So those nests are always above water. And it's quite a drop for those little tadpoles. They'll wriggle down as soon as the eggs hatch, and then they just drop straight out of that foam nest. Now, usually the nest can be maybe a few inches off or above the water, and then also a few meters above the water, just like this one is right up there. That's quite high. That looks like at least 10 meters or so, I would say. I would hazard a guess at about 10 meters above ground. It's amazing. Apparently it is distasteful, so it prevents birds from raiding the nests, but I think there are still some birds that if they do come across a nest like that, they'll try and pick the little tadpoles or the eggs out of the nest. Bit of a cool breeze at the moment, which is quite nice. So I think we're going to continue. We'll leave this down. Unfortunately, not much. Yeah, Dave, you say you thought giraffes had a long drop during birth. Exactly. Not nearly as long as these little tadpoles, and you can imagine in proportion to their body size just how sorry, the sun how far they've got to drop out of that nest. Alright. I really thought we were going to see a bit more this side. Unfortunately not. Well, not just yet. But it's too soon to panic. We'll see what else we can find. Maybe bump into some elephant. Thankfully, there is a cool breeze. It's not nearly as hot as 2 days ago. We had a really, really hot afternoon. Oh, just a glimpse of a woodland kingfisher flying past there. I don't know if you got to see that. Quite a lot of birds. I can hear arrow-marked babblers. Shamama, I'm not sure if terrapins eat tadpoles. Possibly, but I actually don't know. I really don't know. Just trying to think. Unfortunately, I don't have a reptile book with me, but maybe some of our viewers, if you can find out, let us know. Do terrapins, are they able to catch tadpoles? I wonder if they're even able to catch them. I doubt it. Now, speaking of terrapins and creatures in the water, James is at Chitwa Dam, and I'm sure he's got plenty to show you over there.
Plenty to show you, everybody. We've got some hippopotami, we've got some Egyptian goose, we've got a couple of water thickneys. There are the Egyptian gooses. The water thickneys have flown off, but you can hear them going. There they are. Well done. A blacksmith lapwing. And a dove. And there's a dove behind there. I don't see the pratin coals here at the moment. I think they're probably out pratin coaling. No, I think they are there actually. While you look around the place, I'm just going to check for the pratin coals. It wasn't a dove, it was a pratin coal that you were looking at. They were all there. All the pratin coals, the collared pratin coals. And there's a gorgeous bushbuck ram there. Isn't he lovely? So, as usual, lots going up here. Lots going up. Lots going on here at the Chitwa Dam. I'm still doing a little bit of a scan around to see if we can't see the beastly crocodilians. But I do not see them as yet. They're lurking beneath the surface, waiting for a victim. Now, Byron was talking about terrapins and catching, whether they can catch tadpoles. I suspect quite strongly they can. Ooh. I think this crocodile, is that a hippo that just went under there? I think it's a croc. Yeah, right below us. I think it might be stalking us, David. Just wait for it to come up there. If it does come up, I shall tell you immediately, of course. I think that terrapins probably do catch the odd tadpole. They are largely carnivorous. They will eat bits and pieces of algae, I suppose, as well. I've certainly seen them eating algae along the surface of the pan, especially at Djuma pan. Oh, there we go. Teeth wide open there. And closing them just in time not to be seen on the television. It's such a peaceful scene, this, and I don't know what it is about sitting in a waterhole. People, when they go on safari on their own and they drive around national parks, they tend to drive from waterhole to waterhole to waterhole. And it's because there's this, I suppose, this tremendous sort of sense of expectation that things might come down to drink here, that there might be some form of action, and also it's just the peace. It's comfortable to be next to the water for some reason. Probably some deep seat. Oh my goodness, David. Turn that camera to where I'm looking. I see a moorhen. Not only do I see a moorhen, I see a moorhen, I think, on a nest. Down below that, right in there. Yeah, in that bush below there. Just keep your eyes trained on that thing. On that little bit of bush there. I think he's gone inside. I'm just going to find him in the book while you do that. Indeed, a moorhen. Just keep looking in there. Keep staring away. I'm just quickly going to find him in the book for you. Oh dear. Or was it? Perhaps. No, it's not a moorhen in the slightest. Sorry, it was a black crake. Well, they look very similar. Let me just see if he's there again. How did I make that mistake? I can even hear him calling. I'll play the call for you, and then I'll show you the picture. Right, here we go. Field guide, K for crake. There we are, crake, black crake. There it is. It's not an uncommon bird, but I've never seen it here before. That's very cool. I wonder how many of you have got that on your bird list. The black crake, common resident, Amorornis flavirostris. I'm not going to even attempt to remember that. I'm just wondering, I'm going to leave this thing calling on the dashboard here to see if it doesn't pop out again. There it is. It's there, David. Zoom in far right hand side. There. Ah. There is the black crake itself. How cool is that? The moorhen has got yellow legs and red beak. Not the other way around. It's not, like I say, not an uncommon bird. You see them quite a lot. But just not here. That is really cool. Nev, you reckon the black crake is a nicer find than the moorhen? I'm not sure what you have against moorhens, but I'll take your word for it. That's really very nice indeed. Good. A couple of thunderheads building to the far east there. That's a beautiful cloud. And then I think we'll move on from here into the clearings below and see if we can't find something in there. Perhaps Tundi is sitting in a tree over there. That would be very nice. David, did you notice the colours on that black crake?
I did.
Beautiful, wasn't it? Very lemon yellow beak, yeah, and carmine sort of crimson feet.
Quite nice.
Very nice. Now,
this is Nephila, or a golden orbweb spider, and the significance of this particular spider is that it is the first one I've seen this entire season, and only the second one I've heard reported of this entire season. And although small, she represents the reseeding of these particular spiders in this area after the drought from last year. Now, because of the lack of insects that we had last year, I don't think very many of these golden orbwebs survived long after they were born whatsoever. And the result of that is that we had almost no spiders last year and a massive influx of flies. Nothing was there to catch the flies. And these spiders have needed to be parachuted in here from other areas where they didn't completely die out to reseed this area. And this particular female Nephila, she is now between these two bushes and living out the rest of this summer season here. You can see just above her is her garbage line of trophies, so to say. These particular golden orbweb spiders or orbweb spiders quite often have these garbage lines of discarded husks of their prey. And there's some speculation as to what it is. Some believe that it's a clear sign or an indication to larger mammals and birds not to walk through their web, which requires some effort to build. Others believe it's a place for the spider to hide out and to creep away from to avoid being preyed upon. I think I like to believe the first one. I quite like the idea of the spider making a visual marker for birds and animals to see before they crash through their webs. These spiders build some of the most intricate and the most sophisticated webs of all the spiders. The vertical and aerial orb webs made up of or mixtures of all 7 different kinds of silk that you get. These orb web spiders are able to produce all 7 different kinds of silk that the spiders of the world can produce, and can mix them to infinity, I suppose, depending on what the need of that particular portion of the web is. Now there's entanglement snares that are not sticky and are very strong, that are between the spider and yourselves, and in actual fact between the spider and myself. And then there's the mesh, or the sticky orb web, which she's actually sitting on, and that has this beautiful golden color in the right light, which gives this particular spider the name, the golden orb web spider. Awesome. Kirsty tells me that your feedback is that you're quite excited about the spider being back at Djuma, and I must be honest with you, I'm very happy to show this particular spider to you as well. I like that there's a fly there that's just flown in. Yes, there we go. And you're watching it kill, and we watched her get dinner. Well done. So she's now got it, she's now bitten it, and what we'll see is her just taking off the bits and pieces of residual silk and maybe spinning it closed. Might be a small enough morsel for it to just suck dry as she caught it there. Yeah, how's that for some action? Now Mike, you've asked me if these types of spiders eat their own webs. Mike, not that I've seen, to be quite honest with you. I have seen these spiders ball up their silk before, but I haven't seen them do anything with it. They may very well eat it. Some spiders definitely do eat the silk, so as not to lose whatever nutrients the silk holds and to be able to use it again later. I don't think these particular spiders do though, Mike. I've never really seen it with my own eyes, them ingesting their own silk. That's a more common thing for a bark spider, for instance, would eat its web every day and then spin a new one every night. These particular spiders tend to spin one web for a season and then just keep on repairing it the whole time. Very rarely will they move to another place. And to be quite honest, they can get so thick in an area. I mean, I would imagine over the next couple of years, as you join the safari with us, you'll see an increase in these spiders to a point where you can't even walk through the bush. They just drape from every branch and across every opening. It becomes absolutely amazing. So for those of you who enjoy this type of thing, bookmark this particular spider in this particular area being the only one on the 26th of January 2017. And you'll see in years to come, perhaps closer to 2020, where we won't be able to walk through the bush here for lack of space because of these spiders just draping from every single branch. Just really, really cool. And quite often these spiders have an attending spider called a mercury drop spider. A very clever little spider. It tends to live in the webs of these spiders. They can get quite large, and by large I mean no matter what size human being you are, if you open up your hand, that's as big as these golden orb web spiders can get. Is as big as your hand, as big as a soup plate. And they have these mercury drop spiders that live inside their webs and steal all the small prey from them that they don't eat. Now, Michael, you've commented on a remark I made about the little spiders ballooning into here. That's exactly what it's called, Michael. The young spiders will be hatched wherever their eggs were hatched. They will then climb up to the top of a grass or to the top of a pointed leaf, and they will trail out a trail of silk behind them. And at some point in the wind, the drag on that piece of silk gets so much that the spider is ripped off of the leaf and will basically be airborne and will be at the mercy of the wind, giving out more silk. Of course, increases the drag and allows that spider to sometimes travel thousands of feet up into the air, and they can actually travel hundreds of miles depending on the wind. And then as the wind drops or as the wind eddies, those spiders are then delivered or dropped into a place, and that is where that spider will make its home. So that's how some spiders propagate and how they disperse, for lack of a better word, is they use a an action called ballooning, and that's that climbing to the top of a grass, letting a piece of silk go until the drag increases enough to rip the spider off, and then it then travels with the wind to a place where it's deposited. And that's exactly how this little spider would have gotten here, is through that wind dispersal. Now, winter prison, knowing that I've just said that these spiders can get as big as a dinner plate, I'm going to show you, or you wanted to see how big this particular spider is. She's not a very big one. I'm going to try and put my hand in there next to her. She's probably about, that's next to her there. So she's about as big as my thumb. Her body probably about as big as my thumbnail, and I don't have very big hands myself, so she's a tiny one. She's as big as a large coin, I suppose. But some of them get as big as soup plates, much bigger than my hand. Let me see if I can pull my hand out here. I mean, that's as big as we can expect some of these spiders to get here, compared to her, and you can see she doesn't even make a speck in the middle of my palm. Alright, now on that note, I hope you find some more. I doubt it though, but why don't we send you over to Byron, who's got a bird, before it flies away, and we'll see you later.
Yeah. Steph, we've had about 3 birds fly away already, but we fortunately still have this lilac-breasted roller sitting here, and they are always great to see. It flew down. Now I'm hoping it actually takes off again, because it has got the most exquisite blue on the wings when it does fly. So maybe if it spots an insect, it might fly down and you'll get a glimpse of that color. So let's sit here patiently for a little while and see if it does it.